Hey, this is Coach Shay with Alpha Girl Soccer Academy, and welcome to the Alpha Girl Soccer podcast show, where we aim to inspire, empower, and positively impact female athletes. Welcome back to the Alpha Girl Soccer podcast. My guest today is a former Division I volleyball athlete and current author, speaker, and mindset and performance coach. She is the founder of The Winning Element, which is an online platform that is revolutionizing athlete development. Please welcome Deanna Schneyer. Deanna, thanks so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I am great, and I'm excited to see you.
Yes. So if you are not watching this, I think you should, but we are wearing the same shirt. We did not plan it, so we're wearing the hashtag Unstoppable shirt. So it's pretty cool because I was on Deanna's podcast a while back, and she was so gracious to send me a shirt. So I love wearing it because it's the softest, coolest shirt ever.
It's one of my favorite shirts to wear too, because it is so soft. And it's one of those things like you get shirts from like various events and like things, and you get these shirts and then you get them and it's almost like you hold it up and it's like that starchy, like it feels like it's almost like a break.
Scratchy.
And it's such a dope shirt, right? So it's like you have these really cool shirts, but they're like sandpaper on your skin. You never want to wear them. So you've got these cool shirts. So anytime I develop, especially like apparel, I'm always like, okay, I want something that feels great and looks great, but I'm so happy to get the twin together today.
I know. And I'm like, I need to get whatever shirts you get. That's the next shirts I'm getting. So I will call you later about that. But anyway, so I'm super excited to have you on today because your book, your framework of confidence and mindset has been a huge part of what I do in my workshops with my girls. Over the summer, as you know, I did summer empowerment workshops and I got all of the girls the Winning Element book. So just thanks so much for your support and just for producing such amazing content online and offline and just helping athletes be better physically and mentally. So thank you. So let's get into, I want to hear a little bit more about your story, about you, and about how you started the Winning Element.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm incredibly grateful for you sharing something that I've developed, and more importantly, that it's helping them and helping you expand their abilities, on the field and beyond, which is freaking awesome. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of what you're building in Sacramento and hopefully online
and beyond. Yes, and it'll go beyond. I'll have to come to LA sometime and we can do a workshop together.
Oh yes, we're doing it. Absolutely.
It'll happen.
Nice. Well, yeah. So I'll do a pretty abbreviated version of my story since there are so many different things I can go into. So I'll keep it pretty basic for the athletes. So I grew up playing a ton of different sports. I did play soccer and then, running. So I stopped that pretty quick. And I got scored on as a goalie a lot. So it was not my sport, but I played baseball with the boys. I did a lot of hiking, rollerblading, skateboarding, like all of the things, but basketball was my main sport. So I grew up playing basketball. And that was really my first love, was basketball. And it was the first thing that I really got into that helped me really develop my character and develop as an athlete. So, I was fortunate to have family members that could help me with this. I had an uncle that was really great at helping me like shoot free throws and understand the game. And, growing up, I played, NJB, Summer League, Winter League, all of, year round as much as I could, in the backyard, all of that stuff. And, when I got to high school, I had been playing for a long time. I got to high school and it wasn't fun anymore. It was awful. I was completely out of love with the sport, and it could have been burnout. It could have been difficulty with the team that I was on. It could have been, me not feeling authentic anymore. It was kind of like this whirlwind of reasons why it just wasn't for me anymore. And at the time in high school, I wanted to have that accolade and be like, oh, I'm a double sport athlete, have my Letterman jacket. I got my double sport athlete. So in middle school, I played volleyball. So I was like, well, I'll play volleyball. So I started playing volleyball, and like my world completely opened back up. It went from this like, oh, I got to go to practice, I got to do these things, to this brand new learning experience where, you know, for the athletes who like, there's a really big difference between volleyball culture and basketball culture. They are very, 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 very different sports in terms of attitude, in terms of team, like all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this really cool thing that was brand new, and I was able to get better really fast. And as I was getting better at this, I started realizing that basketball, being on the basketball team, or continuing to spend time and energy at this thing that I hated. And at this point, I really didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was having like anxiety about it. I was having anxiety attacks, which I really didn't even know what that meant when I was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But it just didn't feel good in my body anymore. And I finally quit, and I went full time into volleyball. And, you know, from my sophomore year to my senior year, I was able to develop enough. And, you know, I had a lot of athleticism, and I had somebody at one point tell me, hey, if you worked really, really hard, you could be a Division I athlete. And the dream when I was growing up was to, you know, to play Division I and to play in the NBA. But of course, like, that didn't happen.
Right.
If you were to go to college and play the sport at the highest level, or at the highest level I could. Mm-hmm. And that was all that they needed to tell me for me to work my butt off so that I could achieve that goal. So I went full on into volleyball, got recruited to the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, which is a super duper cool university in really, really South Texas. So we're like right on the border of Mexico.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're like right on the border of Mexico. I've had a beautiful experience there. You know, I'll probably get into some of those stories as we start talking about confidence, but, you know, it was a great experience. I played 4 years of Division I volleyball. And as I transitioned out of volleyball, you know, a lot of people, and I'm sure you hear this when you talk to a lot of athletes, is like the self-identity issue of like, as soon as you lose your sport, you lose yourself. That didn't happen to me. Like, I went straight from volleyball and I started doing triathlons. So volleyball was just a piece, like, oh, well, that's just the thing that I do. And then triathlons were, oh, that's just the new thing that I do now. So I went straight into trying to master another sport because I was done with volleyball. So, and I'd done team sports for my entire life. And I was over being in situations that were governed by other people. Yes. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to do something that's dependent only on me. So I started doing triathlons. And at that time, I was doing my graduate degree. So I was starting to learn all kinds of new things that would have been really, really helpful when I was playing volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So like, I started learning more about nutrition. I started learning more about how to hydrate properly. I started to learn all these different things. And, you know, I relocated to California and started working and doing all that stuff, but I was still developing as an athlete, and I was still developing as a human. And I started to learn all of these things that would have been really, really helpful when I was playing. And, you know, anytime, you know, we can look back at any time in our life, you know, where we are right now, and we can look back to like 6 months ago us, or, you know, 6 years ago us. And we look at those times and we're like, man, if I would have known then what I know now, I would be a different person. Right. But the truth of that is that we're exactly where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. Right.
Absolutely.
So, you know, as much as I wish that I would have known different or did different, right? Maybe I did know some of it, but I didn't do it, which is also, you know, the case for a lot of athletes. Is like, we know we're supposed to be doing things to, you know, get better and do all these things. You know, we should be doing these work drills. We should be improving X, Y, and Z. We should be working on our quad and hamstring activation. And, you know, we're supposed to be doing all those things, but we don't, right? And then we wish that we had done it, but really, in the magic of the present moment, you know, we can learn and do better. So again, as I was done competing and I was learning all this different stuff, I started coaching. And I had my corporate job and I was climbing the corporate ladder and doing all that stuff. And then I would go a couple of days a week. I'd go to club volleyball, and I started to see, like, as I was coaching, I realized the gap of knowledge like completely oblivious to goal, like these particular athletes. I'm not saying all athletes, but these particular athletes that I was working with, some of them were just clueless. Like they just didn't get it. Like I'd ask them, what's your goal today? And they would it was like crickets. Oh, like what? Like it's like I asked them a question about like astrophysics. Like they just looked at me like, I have no idea what you're saying. And then, so I'm like, well, what are you working on today? And they're crickets, right? Again, crickets. And then I'm like, all right, well, what position are you? Oh, you're a passer. So you're working on passing.
Mm-hmm. You have to like feed it to them.
Yes, I'm feeding it to them. And I'm like, oh, you're working on passing today. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, what part of passing are you focusing on today? Are you trying to read the hitter? Are you trying, offense, defense? Like what are we focused on at this moment? And they're like, getting to the ball fast, what, I'd give them like 3 options and they like chose one. And in this, I started to see myself in these athletes, right? I started to see the gap. I started to see that I was once as clueless as they were. And it was because I didn't have a coach or a mentor or a guide who recognized where I was and recognized where I wanted to go, and then was able to like get me there. And of course I had great coaches. I had great people in my life.
Right.
But, we're only able to give our athletes as much as we know ourselves. Right. So, if you're a career volleyball coach and your expertise is volleyball, like that's what you have to offer your athletes. If you don't have a coach who knows about nutrition, if you don't have a coach that knows about goal setting, or if you don't have a coach that's actively teaching these things,
right,
like you just don't have the knowledge. And it's something that it's frustrating, and it's like, but it's just a part of youth sports and especially for coaches that are in sport now, it's like they come from their corporate jobs, they have kids, they're doing things like, and then they come and they coach, and it's like, they're just supposed to coach. They're not thinking that they're responsible for the entire athletic development road path, like all of those things. So I like, when I saw that there was nothing that was speaking to marrying the mental and physical performance aspects, when I saw that there was nothing for youth athletes that was easy, because like you look at some of the texts and you're like, I don't know what that says. I mean, I asked them about goal setting and they gave me crickets.
Right.
Like, so from that point, I started to think, how do I develop something? Because it's not like I just knew what I was going to do. It's like, how do I develop something that's going to make this easy? How do I develop something that helps to bridge that gap? How do I develop something that helps these athletes have a much better opportunity and a chance for success, not only on the field, but off the field in their relationships, in, relationships with their friends, with their relationships with parents, with their ability to go to college or a trade school, or, whatever else they're going to do. But how do we set them up for the most success with all of these things that don't get talked about? And thus the peak performance pyramid and the facets of physiology were married together into the winning element essentials, which are 8 factors.
Oh, there we go. No, it's like, just going off of what you said, how like kids don't know that thing, because as a coach of, for example, a soccer coach of, 18 kids, like they're focused on, number one, they probably have a full-time job that's not a coach, right? So they have to focus on tactics, on technical stuff. Like they don't have time to teach a player how to do goal setting, or to teach them how to have a growth mindset, or be confident, or their nutrition, or their hydration. Like that's just one, like the soccer part of it, or volleyball part of it is just one tiny part of the athlete. It's like what you are doing and what I am trying to do as well is like bridge the whole athlete. So, the mental side of it, I think, in my personal opinion, is more important than the physical side of it a lot of the time, because if you're mentally you're in the right place, then physically you can get there, I believe. So I think what you're doing is amazing. And since you had a great little intro there to the peak performance pyramid, thank you for that. So I want to get into, so like I said earlier, right, in your book, it's an amazing book. You dive into a lot of like the peak performance pyramid. So I want to get into like kind of each step of that pyramid because I really believe that it can help our listeners. So let's dive into the first, the base of the pyramid, which is growth mindset. And I absolutely love this topic. So tell us why growth mindset is that first, that base level of the pyramid, why it's, I guess, the most important thing you need to get anywhere else.
I think, okay, so to give people like the big picture, right? So the big picture is mental and physical performance together, boom, smoosh together. And what we're going to be talking about is only the mental side. So just know that right now we're jumping into just mental stuff. So the peak performance pyramid that I created, when we look at pyramids in the structure, right? We always think, and like there's some things that could be moved around on that pyramid, because it's like, if we wanted to get very technical about foundations. But the reason why I have growth mindset as the foundation for this pyramid that really makes everything else possible is that if you, and I guess the most important part of having a growth mindset and kind of like the cliff notes of what it means is you believe that with time and effort and by working at something that you can get better. That's like the very like foundational thing. If you believe that what you got is all you're going to get, you're stuck. You're literally not going to go anywhere. And for the people who have a hard time with growth mindset, this is just something that, we're all put on this planet to grow and to learn and to connect and have our journey. And for people who are not in the growth mindset yet, like this is your work. And for people who have the growth mindset, cool, get what you got to do and go forward. And, and then we can build on that. But having a growth mindset, if you believe that your intelligence is fixed, if you believe that your skill level is fixed, if you believe all of those things, like to your core, you're not able to build on top of that. And there's a lot of evidence that you're not fixed, because guess what? You learned how to talk, right? You learned how to walk. You learn like you were able to learn how to do these things. And guess what? You didn't even know you were learning how to do them. So for the people who are stuck in a fixed mindset, we got to shift. We got to shift you to this place where you believe that anything is possible, because it is. And we've seen that. And, our beliefs really govern our reality. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And
absolutely.
So if we have a negative view of the world, if we're constantly in fear, if we don't think we have the ability to play at the highest level, if we don't think we can be fast, if we don't think we can execute some of these really fancy footwork stuff, guess what? You're not going to do it, because you're not going to be like, your body says it's already a no. Your body's already like, okay, cool. We've already accepted the reality. We're not doing this. Okay, fine. So you might as well not even try. Well, guess what? You shouldn't try.
Absolutely.
Right. So foundation, growth mindset, super important. We have to believe that we can get better. And we have evidence that, guess what? You have gotten better. So let's get you to this place where you believe that anything is possible, that by working at something, by learning new strategies, because sometimes we get stuck in, and this happens a lot with nutrition, and this happens a lot with when we have families who impose their beliefs on us.
Yeah.
Right? And part of that is, as we're developing as athletes, we don't have to take on the viewpoint of everybody around us. It's up to us to take responsibility for our mind, to take responsibility for our thoughts, our body, because they're ours. They're nobody else's. Although they are affecting other people, and although other people's affect us, we have to take responsibility for our mindset and what we believe. So if somebody's telling you, oh, you're never going to be the fastest. Okay, well, that's what you believe. I don't agree with you. I could, and I'm going to keep working at it.
Yeah.
I can do that.
And like, I feel like so many players that I've started to realize recently is so many players have a fixed mindset. So it's important to realize that you can go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So if you had to give like 2 or 3 strategies to like go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, what would you say like the most, useful things are to do to get into that growth mindset?
I would say that you have to find evidence. Sorry about that. You have to find evidence. I think that evidence helps, right? So if you've seen that you can do it before and that it's been done by other people, then you can also do that, right? Because you're not the 1 in 7 billion people who aren't able to do this thing.
Right.
That's not true. And you have to get outside yourself and stop thinking about it like that. Like, you can do this. And, a lot of times we get, and, younger athletes will get stuck in their story, right? So it's like, I'm not that big. I'm not that fast. Like, oh, my family's not this. My family's not that. We get stuck in our story. Right. And that's when we start to focus very narrow. Like, this is a narrow focus. Like, we're just focusing on us. So for us to shift from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset, we have to open up and we have to see the big picture, and we have to see the past success of, I did learn how to walk. I did learn how to read. I did learn how to color within the lines. I did learn how to go outside of, like, all of those things. So I think that's a big one, is like looking for proof, because you don't even have to do anything. You literally have to think about ways in which you've grown. I think another one is like trying something new, because, if you try something that you've never tried before and you see just like a small amount, and that's like the learning curve for like learning, right? So it's like, if you've been playing a sport for a long time, or if let's say you've been using your right hand for a while, this is another one of those things you can do. Like, if you've been writing with your right hand forever, right? And it's like, that's your story. I've been writing with my right hand forever. And then you try, of course, like, you're not going to get exponentially, like, every time you write, you're not going to get exponentially better at writing with your right hand. Like, you're going to develop, obviously,
right.
You're going to develop as a right-handed person. However, if you try to write with your left hand, and the first 5 minutes is like so clumsy and so awful and so embarrassing, right? You're just like, this is so stupid, like, you're like just being bad. And then like 10 minutes go by and stuff starts to smooth out. And then, 15 minutes goes by, like the trajectory of growth within the 15 minutes is huge. And you can visually see that. And you're like, oh, I just proved it to myself. I can get better if I try. And that's the biggest thing. I can get better if I try. Like, if you don't try, if you've already made your mind up, you're dead in the water, and sometimes we surprise ourselves. And that's like one of those cool things with with youth athletes, is sometimes they surprise themselves, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I could do this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So for growth mindset, like, those are 2 things that you can do that are really fast and really easy, don't cost any money. You could literally do in 10 minutes, and you can blow your own mind, and you can start to believe, and it sometimes, like, for some people, growth mindset, it's one and a done. But for other people who struggle with that, it's something that you have to and you have to work hard at it for a little while, and then again, right? So, like, making that shift of like, if I put time and energy into this, I can get better. Okay, I can get better. Okay, I can get better. And then you have to keep doing it. You can't just sit and not do anything.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, writing, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's so simple. You can literally do it anywhere. And it's like you said, it's free. It takes 10 minutes, like something like that, to just basically prove to yourself that you can get better at something, and then just kind of consistently chipping away at it. So I think that's a really good, easy thing that players that are super, super fixed can kind of use to like get out of that mode of that fixed mindset.
I think like the kind of the big picture of this too is that we're always looking for confirmation bias. Like, we have, like, as humans, we have this thing, and our brain is so incredibly powerful. And, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, but mostly like our mindset and what we're thinking, again, like, we see the world as we are. So we have this incredible brain, right? This incredible brain that has super powerful, right? And the good news is that our brain is powerful. The bad news is that if we're focused on the right thing or the wrong thing or something that's not productive, it can be detrimental, right? So we have this confirmation bias that when we're always looking to prove ourselves right. So it's like, I'm not a good passer, right? So every bad passer, like, look at this, I'm not a good passer. Again, check me out, I'm not a good passer. It's all about me, I'm not a good passer. See, showed you, I'm not a good passer. What do you think the next pass is going to look like? Awful.
Yep,
absolutely. Right? So one of the things that you can do is you can start to prove yourself, like learn how to prove yourself wrong. Like, and that's one of the most powerful things. You're like, but what if I could? I'm gonna prove myself wrong, and then you can like reverse psychology yourself succeeding. Which, like, there's some people that, you know what, that's just the way that their brain works. And hey, prove yourself wrong, girl.
No, I like when you said that, because I actually am reading a book that had just talked about like confirmation bias, and it's so true. Like, not even with what you're trying to do, but with what you believe. Like, if you believe that LeBron James is an idiot, which I love LeBron James. So if you believe that he's an idiot, then you're going to find every little thing that'll make him seem that way. But for me, I love him, so I'm going to find every little thing that makes him seem like the best person ever.
Right?
Yeah, and so it's the same thing. Like in training yesterday, I was with a group of girls, and one of them, when she shot, it was like every time she shot, like, see, I can't do it. See, I can't do it. It's just like constantly confirming that she couldn't have a good shot. So it's totally true. It's like, you got to prove yourself wrong, and it can start with something simple such as writing, and be like, see, I can do it. Like, prove yourself wrong and prove that you can do something that you thought you couldn't do. So I love that. Absolutely love it.
It's magic. So like the next, so growth mindset. And then on top of that, we got confidence,
Absolutely.
Which I know that you're a huge fan of, and you're one of my go-to people on confidence. I know this is like one of your favorite areas. So we'll jump into confidence a little bit. It's like, after we have this growth mindset and we know we are capable of anything and learning and growing, and we're in this great place where we're open to being taught, we're open to learning, and we're open to being able to achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. The next big piece of that, after you know that you can, is building confidence. And confidence is key for everyone, especially athletes. You know, it's hard to make real progress when we're on these confidence roller coasters. And that's why we try to impress the importance early for athletes when they're first developing. You know, throughout our life, we experience bouts of doubt, you know, but ideally we want to have a foundation of confidence in our ability to figure things out, because there's different kinds of confidences, right? So there's like confidence in a skill, confidence to do this, confidence to do that. But there's like this like all-knowing, all-encompassing, just like confidence in ourselves to figure it out. And that's kind of, you know, one of the biggest skills that you can learn is, hey, I might fail. I'm probably going to learn. You know, I have the ability to keep going. This is part of the process, but I have confidence in me. I have confidence in my ability to learn and figure it out. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a whole lot of failure, which
absolutely
essentially means learning, right? It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a lot of discomfort. It doesn't mean that it's not going to suck, because guess what? Getting better sucks.
Absolutely.
It sucks. But you can choose to embrace the suck and love it and be like, you know what? This is not fun, but I'm going to try so hard that this is fun again, because this sucks. But that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know.
And actually, I wanted to, in my workshop, there was this quote in your book that I want to read real quick, because I think it encompasses like so much of what confidence is. So if you tell somebody something enough times, they will start to believe it, even ourselves. If we continuously tell ourselves something, we will start to believe it as fact. So I think it all comes down to like belief. Like, if you believe you can't do something, I promise you won't be able to do it. In reverse, if you do believe you can do something, you absolutely will be able to do it. So I think belief is like that's always like the one word that I think of when it comes to confidence, is just that belief that you can do something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in that part of the chapter, I start off that confidence chapter by telling this story about how when I was, and this was like all my life, like,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been, it's always, again, we're on the confidence roller coaster because those things are going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, I was not confident. I was an
Mm-hmm.
awkward height. I was always having these, I didn't feel pretty. I felt like I didn't feel like I had the body that I wanted. I didn't get attention from like physical attention from like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had friends and that was cool. And I did well at sports, but as far as like confidence in myself, like I really didn't have a lot. And it was easy as a kid, and it's something, like to like rag on yourself, right? So it's like we rag on ourselves and we're like, oh yeah, I don't want to have kids because I don't want to be ugly like me. Like, but really what that's saying, like, or you're like, oh yeah, but I'm ugly, or like, yeah, but I'm short and I got big ears. Like what like I've got tiny ears, so this is fine.
Ditto.
Right? So it's like we say these things that are reflective of what our inner thoughts and our self-talk is really talking about, right? I was so bad. Like my self-talk as a youth athlete and just as an adolescent was awful. I was so like, I would never say these things to anyone, but I would say them to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I would say things like, you're ugly, you're not worth it, you don't deserve this. Like all of those things, which like, again, if you're hearing these things over and over and over and over, and this isn't anybody even telling me, this isn't even my parents being like, you're short, you're never going to play. Mm-hmm. You're short, you're never going to be in D1. Like that wasn't even my parents. I was literally making it up myself.
Right.
And I remember when my dad told me that we were, and I don't even think like, he wasn't even talking to me. He was literally like we were talking about like Nazi Germany and Hitler, and we're like it was completely not related to me or volleyball or anything. But I got this huge message that, oh, well, if you tell somebody something enough times, they're going to start to believe it. So I was like, I'm going to do proving myself wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do an experiment. What if? So I like on my mirrors, like all of my mirrors, I took the dry erase markers and I was like, you're gorgeous. I love you. You're so great. Meow, meow, meow. Like all of the things that are like super nice. Like I put nice lyrics and I had them all over the place. And I had that. And then I had my journal and I'd write nice quotes and cute lyrics. And then like when I would look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I love you. But I mean, like, it's not like I was like in a high school bathroom doing this. Okay.
Right.
Like, it's just something I thought about. But I like anytime that I was like started to like want to rag on myself, like I tried to switch it immediately. And like months went by and it's one of those things that's like you start doing something and then like 6 months go by and then you forget that you were even doing it. And then all of a sudden, like your energy is completely changed. The things that you're saying to yourself have changed. The things that you're saying to other people about yourself have changed. And for me, that was the case. Is like I had this newfound confidence in myself and my ability to figure stuff out and just be cool with whatever was going on. Like, all right, well, this is me right now. Okay, this is cool. And, again, in college, there was another time where like I wasn't feeling confident, like I was going through a lot of stuff. And like, you do the confidence work, you do the work to feel better. And more than anything, you're correcting the stories in your head.
Absolutely.
Like that stuff's not true. Like we're literally making stuff up all the time. And then we're reacting to it like it's reality. Like we're literally making things up. And then we're like, see, that's the way it is.
Right.
Like, when it's like, oh no, I can decide how things are and I can choose the thing that is it, because it's not about positive or negative, because negativity can fuel your fire.
Right.
I'm not saying it's a great fuel source, but I'm saying like, it's about productive versus unproductive. Like, is this thing helping or hurting you? And then if it's helping you, keep doing it. If it's hurting you, you better stop or shift it.
Yeah. And it's like, so you mentioned like you have to work at being confident. You have to do the work. So one thing that you mentioned obviously is, writing positive affirmations on your mirror, in a journal, whatever. So like, what are let's go 2 or 3 other favorite strategies for players to become more confident? Your top 2 or 3, because I know in your book you have like a bunch of them. Let's go through like a few of them.
All right. So for me, and this is like something that's actually been pretty recent for me, is it's really hard to build confidence if you feel like you're always losing or you can't get anything right. Mm-hmm. And this can be true in your sport. It can be true in your life, with your parents, with your friends, like all life. It can be true in life. And I know for me, especially like growing up, I felt like I was never good enough. Like, even when I did everything right and I checked all the boxes and I did everything I was supposed to do, it was wrong, or I messed it up, or I didn't get the praise that I thought I was going to get from like checking all the boxes. And even when I was doing everything right, or I thought I did everything right, or I did everything I was supposed to do, it wasn't good enough. And a lot of things like that come down to self-worth, and like having a strong self-worth that is grounded in self-love. And we grow up having needs that don't get met because that's just the way that the world works. And we internalize a lot of the messages, like, I'm not good enough. I can't trust myself. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not a priority. I deserve what I get. I need to be punished. I'm not important. Those are all messages that, as kids, different things that we go through are reflected back to us. And these underlying beliefs, right, they're reflected back to us in our experiences, especially in sport. And with that, a lot of athletes develop this need to be perfect. I know that was one of my issues, and a lot of athletes struggle with performing under pressure and ultimately confidence. And one of the foundational pieces of confidence, and something that you can do to work on that, is having strong self-worth. And you need to realize that it's not about just like knowing it. You have to like I can sit here and say like, I know that my self-worth and my self-love, I know that that's great. But there's also like the full realization of what that looks like and how that manifests in your life. Like, if you're like, oh, I can't do anything, blah, 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 like your self-worth isn't very high at this point, right? And we're constantly shifting from low self-worth to high self-worth, low self-worth to high self-worth. And if we can start to build that self-worth, and we can start to know that in any moment you are perfect how you are, you are valued, you are, your voice is important, you're worthy of love. But most of all, you have to realize that you don't need to earn it, and you don't need to work for it. It's just a fact. Right. So that gift of life, of abundance, that's yours, and nobody can touch it. But if you don't believe that it's there, it's not there. And you're awesome, you're perfect, and you deserve the best. And again, it's like this realization process that, our confidence fluctuates, and, because it's always changing. For sure. But we have to know at our core, and athletes, when you get this as a youth athlete, if you know that your stories aren't who you are, if you know that the things that you're saying in your head isn't who you are, and you know that at your core that you are awesome, worthy of love, and that you have something to contribute to this world, that sets you up for a lot of success. So, in terms of actionable strategies for building self-worth, it comes down to having strong self-love practices. And, self-love and self-worth, you can kind of interchange those. But self-love is full acceptance of yourself in the moment. If we fully love ourselves, even with our messiness, even with our messed up buns, not your messed up bun, your bun looks great. I got a good bun today. Even with our braid that sucks this morning, like even even with like being late and being messy and, you know, all that stuff, like you have to love that and you embrace it. And you're like, you know what, that's just where I'm at right now. And I have the ability to be confident. And I have confidence in my ability to learn and my ability to grow. And some of the cool self-love things that you can do is anything that feels good, and not like scrolling through your Instagram. Like, although like I could make a case for it, but I'm going to say that that's probably like at the bottom of the, like, how to develop self-love, not good. Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. You know, anything that is like giving more energy than it's taking away. You know, when we engage in self-love practices, sometimes that's affirmations. Sometimes that's taking time to read. Sometimes that's taking time to not see anybody. Sometimes that's cooking. Sometimes that's, you know, taking an extra long shower. Sometimes that's hiking or walking or drawing or singing in the car or singing to yourself or like whatever it is.
Dancing in the kitchen. That's my favorite thing.
Dancing in the kitchen, right? Like that's something that it's soul serving. It feels good.
Yeah.
You can take and you can radiate that. Like, you know, that you can take that and you can bring that to whatever you're doing next.
Yeah. I love that.
That's a big one. Like tracking and celebrating your wins. Like I kind of like start off this particular portion talking about, you know, like if we feel like we're always losing, like we have this confirmation bias that is like, let me look for losses. Where else am I losing? You know, if we track and we celebrate our wins, this builds our confidence and our resilience. So, you know, if we don't notice what's going on that's right, we're going to always be looking for this wrong stuff. So if we make it a habit to start looking for, and I do this with my family and with other people in my life, with my partner, where like, what was the best part of your day?
Yeah.
Tell me some of your wins. You know, in the planner that goes with the winning element book that a lot of your athletes got and will get. And for everybody who didn't get it, you can get it now. You know, there's a place in there that every day you can write down your wins. You can write down, you can write down your gratitude. You know, your brain is literally looking for evidence. So if you know that later you have to put in your planner what was good, like you're going to go through your day. You're going to mentally go through your day and you're like, okay, I went to lunch. Oh man, lunch was pretty cool today. And then you're like, oh yeah. Volleyball was pretty great today. Or what, you know, soccer was great today. Oh, I had that thing. Shay made me laugh so hard. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, no, that's something I do every day is like, even if it's something so small, it's just like, cause like when a lot of people be like, oh, I had such a horrible day. But when you actually break it down and think of like, oh, like I actually had a lot of great things happen. It's just, it might not be these huge breakthroughs, but it's just like the little wins, celebrating those little wins. Like you said, it builds, you know, you build like credibility with yourself and confirmation that you can do something, that you can win, instead of thinking, oh, I'm losing all the time. So I absolutely love that one.
Heck yeah. My next favorite is prepare. Like, if you, and we'll kind of shift to like a more skill, like the self-love, the like tracking your wins, like those are all really cool things for like the big picture of confidence, like confidence in yourself.
Right.
And this one is more sport specific or skill specific, however you want to look at it. If you practice and if you prepare, you're going to be so much more confident to perform later. But if you don't put in the necessary reps, if you haven't done it so many times that you can do it with your eyes closed, and that's probably a bad example for soccer. Like,
the idea.
But you know what I mean, right? Like if you haven't gotten the reps in, of course you're not going to be confident. It would be like giving a speech that you've never looked at, or you've only, I glanced at it twice. That's the equivalent of what some people do with sport. You know, they're like, well, I had 2 days of practice for an hour each, and then you want to feel confident to execute on Saturday. No bueno. Like that's not gonna work.
Yeah, and it's so simple. Like I always give the example of like, if you're going to take a test, are you going to just take the test without studying? If you do, you're probably going to get an F on the test, right? It's just preparing, it's so simple. It's like you study for a test, you prepare for your test to do well on the test. You look at a speech before you're going to give a speech. You practice before you're going to play in a game. It's just super simple. And it's like you just said, if you practice 2 days a week for an hour, it's probably not going to be enough. I'm not saying you need to go practice for an extra 5 hours, but even like 10 minutes on your own at home, like working on a skill that you're trying to get better, working at striking the ball correctly, just a little bit of practice goes a long, long way when it comes to confidence and actually performing like under pressure.
Heck yeah. And thinking about it too, like thinking about it, like this morning, to give an example, like I was in bed, like I woke up, and a lot of times, like I like to snooze my alarm, and everybody's like, don't snooze your alarm. You're lazy. Don't snooze your alarm. You're awful. And I'm like, you know what I do when I snooze my alarm? I start visualizing my day so that I can catalyze that experience. Right. So like in my snooze time, I'm like, I am brilliant. I'm going to be great today on this podcast. I'm going to say some magic things that are going to help athletes around the world. And I'm going to show up. Right. So it's like me being able to have this self-talk. So, I'm visualizing, I'm thinking about how great I'm going to do, or how great something that I could say could help somebody. The same thing with visualization and like everybody wants to like glamorize visualization as this thing where you have to,
right.
No, do it on the toilet. It's not that serious. Like that. Like, I know I tell this to my kids all the time. Right. Like, and for people who are watching on YouTube, I'll do it, but I'll like, there's a position that involves your elbows on your knees and a scroll fashion
on the toilet.
Like this is what you do every morning. I know you took 20 minutes to pee. Like, I know for a fact, some of you took an hour to go to the restroom. Why? Because you're sitting on the throne scrolling. Like, there's a better use. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying be aware of what we're doing. Right. So like, if you want to have more confidence, if you want to perform on and off the court, maybe use the 2 minutes or the 20 minutes, whatever. Like, you did a full on practice on the toilet. Like, next time you spend 40 minutes on the toilet and nothing's going on, like, just know that you spent an entire practice on the toilet. Like, maybe not doing anything. Right. Or like that's where you sat. Right. So it's like, you can always find time to carve out time. You can always find time to carve out time.
Right.
To think about your performance. Like if you let's say you only practiced for 2 days this week, and you've got your game on Saturday, and you only physically were really able to practice because life is crazy and you were doing all the things, right? But you sat there and you thought about left, right, over here, like whatever the combination is. Like, if you're working on footwork, or if you're working on like seeing the field, or like whatever your position, or reading defenders, like whatever, like whatever the thing is that you're working on, you can go through that in your head. Or guess what? You can watch some stuff on YouTube too. Sure. Watch some soccer on YouTube. Go ahead, scroll through Instagram, go through somebody's stuff, and then learn some new stuff. Like, the more that we expose our bodies, our minds, and our eyeballs, the more like we learn by watching. So if somebody wants to be like, oh, Deanna, but I want to be on Instagram. Well, then go be productive on Instagram.
Yeah.
At least be productive. Like, don't just go, and go scroll through it. Like, actually go through it. Go through Alpha Girl Soccer and like go and look at what other people are doing. Go and look at these drills, because your mind, anytime that you're watching something or visualizing it being done, part of your brain is like, hey girl, we're doing this right now, but you're not, right? Like, there's part of your brain that's lighting up like it's actually you. So you're actually like Matrix style, like downloading some of the stuff. And
no, it's so true. And I use visualization now. Like, I used it a little bit in college, but I use it now for like, if I'm going to do a podcast or before a workshop or like a clinic or something, because it like helps me become so much more confident, because I'm like, well, I already did it in my head and I know I'm going to achieve the same results or better than I did when I was visualizing. So it's super simple. Do it on the toilet. do it on the way to your game, on the way to your practice, when you're sitting at the doctor's office, whatever, but just take the time and just practice it.
Nice. Do you want one more?
Yes.
All right. Last one for confidence. One of the most effective things that you can do, and this will kind of go with our Instagram scrolling, and visualization, is modeling and acting like you want to become. And this is something that's super powerful. Like if we know that, and like our brains have these things, they're called egos. And, you know, sometimes they're super helpful because they keep us from getting in bad accidents. Sometimes they keep us safe. They're super old. They're not evolved. You know, the ego wants to come in and be like, everything's wrong. You know, like, I'm not getting what I need. You know, the ego does its thing, right? And then, you know, but we have this higher consciousness part of ourselves that looks at things like, okay, we can do this. Okay, I can do this. So with modeling and acting, we can look, and we do this all the time. We do this unconsciously all the time. Right. We look at people who are popular. We look at athletes. We look at Alex Morgan. We look at the women's national team. We look at Megan Rapinoe, right? We look at these stars, and we look at the way that they carry themselves, right? So we notice, like, oh my gosh, she's invincible. She's untouchable. Look at the way that she poses, right? Like there's so much confidence, and there's so much power in that. And if that's what she, or like whoever that you're looking at, if that's what that person is showing, imagine what's going on in their head. Right. So if we can like literally like take notes and be like, what does Megan Rapinoe do? And then like, or what would Megan Rapinoe think about this? What would Alex Morgan do if, and then we write those things down. And then, you know, we have this ego that's like, well, I'm not going to try anything new because I'm me, you know, and I'm perfect the way I am, and I'm keeping us safe. But if we're like, hey, we're just going to act like it, we can kind of bypass that ego, and we're like, hey, we're just playing a game. Hey, don't worry, we're not changing your personality, ego. You know, we're just playing a game. We're just going to act. Essentially, we're in an acting school, right?
Right.
So if we act like we want to become, or if we can model other people, it's just us playing a game. It's like putting on a hat. It's like, oh, check out my hat.
Who am I? But that's so, like, if you are deciding between, should I go watch Netflix or should I go juggle for 10 minutes? Ask the question, what would Alex Morgan do? There you go. You have your answer. What would she do? She would probably
I like that. I like that.
Right?
Maybe that's the bracelet we can create.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It doesn't have to be a specific person. If you're trying to become like a healthier eater, if you have the choice between a salad and chicken fingers, you say, what would a healthy person do? If you're trying to become a healthy person, you do what that healthy person would do. So it's kind of that same thing, is like, what would this person do that I want to become? How would they act? And then that can kind of guide your decisions when you're forced with, like, all right, should I do option A or option B? So yeah, I love that.
And that helps us make decisions. It's easy. It can be easy if, and I'm not saying not choosing chicken fingers, and that's not my jam.
That's
but
hard, yeah.
Yeah, like for me, like chicken fingers is like, nah, I don't care. But like there's other things, and you're like, oh, but those healthy flax brownies sound so good, right? And you're just like, oh man. And you're like, yeah, but last time they made me break out on my face. And then you're like, but the best version of me would not eat those brownies right now. You know, maybe later.
Yourself later.
And that, yeah. And it's like, what would the best version of me do? Or what would the healthiest version of me do? Or what would a Division I recruited athlete do? Or like whatever it is, it's the thing that you want to be. You want to act like you want to become. Yes. And then once you start making those decisions, kind of like tracking your wins, it becomes a lot easier. So like when I was 16, and my coach was like, oh, don't drink soda for, we have a 2-week challenge. Don't drink soda for 2 weeks. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm like, oh, I love challenges. Of course I'm going to do it. So I did it, and I went the full 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, check me out. I just built confidence. I don't need to and like for the first like couple of days, like it sucked because I had like, I think about it now and I'm like, ew, gross. But like, I think about it and it's like, you know, every day was a win because I didn't have it. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, I didn't even care anymore. I was like, I wonder if I can go a month. I wonder if I can go 6 months. I wonder if I can go a year. I wonder if I can go 16 years, which is probably like now of doing that. And it's like, once you make these small decisions, it gets easier.
Yeah.
Like each subsequent decision gets just a little bit easier because you have the past win. And that's why like when you're trying to develop routines or habits or anything like that, it's like, don't miss 2 days. Like if you mess up once, like you don't want to make that a habit. So you're like, no, I didn't take a cold shower today. I was supposed to take a cold shower today. I didn't take a cold shower yesterday. I have to take a cold shower today.
I took my cold shower today.
Did you?
Yep. I'm on a 6-day streak.
Oh my God, that's great.
It sucks.
So at my house, and for everybody who's listening, cold showers are a phenomenal way to, there's so many things, right? So like cold showers are great for recovery. So if you're having hard workouts, it's going to help you recover. It's going to help you sleep better, which is in turn going to help you recover faster. If you take cold showers, you're going to burn more fat. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, burn more fat. Let's do that. I know, like when I was 16, if somebody was like, you're going to burn more fat if you do that, I would have done it in a hot second because I wanted abs. As a 16-year-old Deanna wanted abs.
Yeah.
32 Deanna has abs. And I'm so excited. Like I looked at myself in the mirror the other day and I was like, your body looks good, girl. And then I was like, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy.
That's so great.
Right. And then, cause in like, however many years, this is like a tangent of like appreciating and loving where you are in the moment. Right. You're just like, I love you. You're awesome. It's like, you finally got the thing that you've been waiting 16 years to get.
So hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And you like finally like have, like you finally fit into a size 8. That's cool. Like, rock on. And then I'm like not even thinking about it. I'm like button my pants and then that's new normal. And then you like forget that like it's like there was a time when you would have killed to be where you are right now. There was a time when I would have killed. I'd been like, that's the only thing. That's the thing that's going to make me happy.
Right.
Or 16-year-old Deanna happy was if she looked better. So for the people, going back to cold showers, if you would like more abs or potentially more abs,
take a cold shower. That's not why I'm doing it, but hey.
No.
I'm doing it to help me build credibility with myself. Like start the day off with something challenging, something that's challenging that I can be like, hey, if I didn't do anything today, at least I did this and it was hard and I did it. So that's why I'm doing it.
I'm proud of you. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, everybody's gonna write in and be like, I'm taking cold showers too.
I know we got off on a tangent there. I went off on the cold shower tangent.
It's okay. You know what? It's going to serve somebody and that's okay.
It's helpful. It's very helpful. Okay. So we are running out of time a little bit, but there are still 3 more parts of the pyramid. So can we just go through them like pretty quickly, the three last parts of the pyramid, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Cool. So to review, we've got growth mindset on the bottom, confidence on top of that. And then we have self-talk, which we kind of talked about it a little bit. We talked about self-talk. It's super important. The things that you're saying to yourself about yourself, the things that you're saying to other people, they matter. Language matters.
Absolutely.
So if we can, anytime that we have an unproductive thought or we say something out loud that's unproductive, all you got to do is notice it, shift it or reframe it, and then go about it. And it's something that that's the number one strategy for self-talk is noticing it and being able to reframe it. And that, again, it's like, oh yeah, it's so easy. It can be, but it also is work. And everything that we talk about is work. Guess what? Life is work. We have to work on ourselves. We're put on this earth to do this work. We're put on this earth to develop. And it's always uncomfortable. Like if you're uncomfortable, you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying if you're injured, you're doing something right. I'm saying if you're uncomfortable in
Mm-hmm.
trying new things, or if you're not exactly where you want to be, you are exactly where you need to be.
Excellent.
And you're only going to be there for a little bit longer because you're about to break through. So self-talk, super important. The next thing, which we also touched on, is visualization.
Mm-hmm.
And visualization, whether you do it on a yoga mat, whether you do it in nature, whether you do it on the toilet, it's all the same thing, because what you're essentially doing is you're imagining and you're bringing that picture to life. And the most important thing about visualization, number one, that you do it, but number two, that you start to make it as real as possible.
Mm-hmm.
When we start to create an inner reality that's greater than the outer reality,
right,
we are in some magic. We've got magic things going on inside ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the more, as you're starting to develop your visualization process and what you're doing with it, start to think, how can I, like, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? Really make it real, these visualizations, like in your head. What does the grass smell like? What kind of grass is it? Is it the fluffy kind? Is it the mud, like the muddy there? Is it, are you slipping on, did the sprinklers just go on?
Mm-hmm.
Did they just cut the grass? Like, these are things that help bring texture to our visualizations.
Right.
These are things that help. And I don't want to say that we're taking advantage of our mind, but we are
a little bit, yeah.
But we're tricking it, right? Like, we're like, hey, I'm tricking you so that you think that this is real, so that when we really go do it, it's going to be way better.
Right.
And your brain's like, okay, I'll get on board. like fine, okay, I'll do it, right? Because that's how it was. That's just the way it works. So visualization, super powerful, super important to do. You can do it in less than 2 minutes a day. You can do it when you're snoozing. You can do it when I was trying to think if I could rhyme with snoozing, cruising. I don't know. You can do it with your snoozing. You can do it when you're cruising. What, going to practice. Like, you can do it whenever. But the most important thing is that you're doing it. Don't just think about doing it. If you have time to think about doing it, you have time to close your eyes. Do it.
Yes, there's no excuse to not be able to do it. Everybody has the time. Take 2 minutes instead of scrolling Instagram. Visualize.
Yeah, put down the phones. And the final part, or I guess like the tip of the pyramid, is going to be resilience. And we build resilience through all of those mental skills that we kind of just talked about. We build that resilience in every moment. Like, resilience isn't something that it's like, oh yeah, I learned how to be resilient this one time. Right. And we're resilient. Oh, cool. Oh, got that skill. Or like whatever it is, like, oh, we got that tool. No, like, resilience is something that is cultivated and strengthened and built every day in every moment. Anytime that we bounce back from failure, whether it's fast or whether it's slow, because that's okay too. That it's okay to take a little bit more time. But anytime that we successfully bounce back and we try again, we're building the resilience. And as youth athletes, and failure is a really big part of resilience, right? Yeah. So like people are like, I hate failing. I love failing. It just means that I'm getting better. I need to fail. And if anybody really wants to be like challenged, if anybody tries slacklining, like, it's an instant, especially for athletes who are really good athletes. If you try to slackline, you are immediately humbled. Like, you suck. Everybody sucks. Everybody sucks. Absolutely. For a long time. But it's like, you're like, I'm going to do it. Ooh, I was able to balance for 3 seconds. Ooh, I was able to balance for 10 seconds. And that's like real-time resilience. Like, what if I didn't have strong resilience, or, mental and physical resilience? What if I, like, every time I just did it one time and I was like, no, thanks, can't do it. That sucked. All right, bye. And then I never tried again.
Right.
I'm missing out on things.
Yeah.
Resilience is, whether you're bouncing back fast or slow, it's just something that we do. And that as an athlete, you're going to have a lot of losses. You're going to have a lot of errors. It's just the nature of the game. for volleyball and I guess for soccer too, it's not as apparent because, you know, we have a lot of points. You guys don't have a lot of points.
Right.
For volleyball, every point ends in an error.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody messes up every
Right.
single time. Every single time somebody messes up. Somebody effed up.
Mm-hmm.
They messed up. So we can't dwell on the things that hold us back. We have to just say, okay, next ball, move forward. You know, anytime that you engage with a striker, if you're a defender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might get them one time, you might get them in a good place another time, or you might funnel them into one of your teammates. Like,
mm-hmm.
Did you fail? Well, no, like technically kind of, because you didn't steal a ball, but you contributed to getting them in a position where your teammate could. Mm-hmm. So there's infinite ways of looking at failure. But really it just comes down to learning. And the more that we build these resilience muscles, and the faster that we're able to just say next ball, the better we're going to be able to be. And if we present moment only happens in the present moment. You know, if we're thinking about the past, our body and our mind is now in the past. We're no longer here. Right. We're literally not here. If we're thinking about the future, we're literally not here. So in sport, you know, to go back to soccer, if you're thinking about a play that just happened, mm-hmm. you're literally not playing soccer anymore.
Right.
You're literally we lost you. We're down a player. You're not even here. Where did you go? You literally time traveled. You're not here. Mm-hmm. Because your mind's not here. Your body's not here. Your physiology is no longer here.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example.
You're not there anymore. Mm-hmm. So with resilience, the faster we can go whoop whoop and come back to where present moment is, then we can and stop thinking, oh, well, I should have had that ball, and I should have, and we did this at practice, and I feel like I should have got this already, and coach is mad. Like all of those things that go on when you know, setbacks happen, even with injuries. You know, we get injured and we're like, oh, I shouldn't have stepped there. Like, you know, oh, I should have ran this way instead of this way. Oh, I shouldn't have been in this place at this time. Or, oh man, whatever it is. Like, oh, the grass was wet. Now I have a sprained ankle. Whatever it is. Like, and exactly in the moment where we are, and we start thinking we're not here anymore. So the more that we can bring our attention back to, this is where we're at, we're bringing it forward. Okay, we're engaging here. We build our resilience, and we build our ability to get better, more confident, and just be better people. Like, we're actually engaging rather than being off in some la la land where we're not even helping our teammates anymore. We're literally gone. So resilience is super important. And it's something that, like every skill, can be learned. You just have to notice it. And then, all right, next ball, ball.
Got to be built over time. Like you said, it's a muscle. Just like any of these skills, it's like it has to be practiced. The more you practice it, the better you get at it, the more resilient you'll be, the more successful you'll be. So it's just about failing hard, failing fast, and then jumping back to the present. So that's awesome.
Heck yeah. And that's the peak performance pyramid.
Yes. Awesome. So I would highly suggest, like, I know everything was kind of like long throughout the pyramid, but I would write down, if you're listening to this, I would write down the peak performance pyramid, write down some notes about each one. And then also we'll talk about the book, but get the book, because that's like just scratches the surface of the book, like the peak performance pyramid. It'll go super deep into everything. But it even goes more than just the peak performance pyramid. So with that being said, where can people connect with you, reach out to you, get the book, learn more about the winning element?
Nice. So the website is going to be www.BeTheWinningElement.com. Almost all our social medias are at The Winning Element. I think Twitter is just Winning Element, because you can't have that many characters.
Okay.
We also have a really cool Pinterest page that we've been building up. So that's kind of cool. So if you're looking for more strategies and just like more cool things to like learn more on, because with the book and with everything that we're doing, it's hard to it's hard to go super deep in all these areas. We essentially want to be a resource for athletes. So it's like, you know, that you can come to the winning element and you can know that you're going to get the 101. So you're going to get the overview of everything, and you're going to get resources that are going to help you go deeper, because everybody is at a different place on their athlete journey. And we have middle school athletes, we have high school athletes, but we also have Olympians that are learning some of these concepts. So you can engage with us on Facebook. You know, parents who are listening to this are more on Facebook, but everything is at The Winning Element. You can get your book. If you just want the book, you can go to Amazon. If you want the audio book, you can get it on Audible. If you go to the website, all of the links are going to be there. But yeah, I know that if I would have had this resource growing up, I know that I would be a much different person, a much different athlete. And I'm so excited for this book and the planner that also goes with it. By the way, there's a planner for everybody else. There's a planner that goes with it. So you can get the Winning Element book and you can get the planner that goes with it. And that's called the Gold Edition. And if you want that, you can go to www.BeTheWinningElement.com/Gold Edition special offer. And that's actually going to get you a free audiobook and a bunch of really cool bonuses, free shipping, all that stuff. So I'll make sure your audience gets only the best.
Yeah, we'll get all those links in there. Make sure that they are hooked up. But like she said, like I went through this book earlier this year and it's amazing. And I'm not even playing sports anymore. So like she said, if I would have loved to have this as an athlete. So if you, whether you're struggling or whether you're not struggling, you just want to get better, this book, I swear, can help you so much on and off the field. So make sure you go check it out. All the links will be in the show notes below. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the episode and got a ton of value from it to use on and off the field. Make sure you follow The Winning Element on Instagram, and please go check out the book. I promise you it'll be a game changer for your performance. And also make sure you subscribe to the Alpha Girl Soccer Podcast Show, and also go check out the Winning Element podcast. And like I said, if you want to see us interact, which you probably do, go watch it on YouTube. And Deanna, thank you so, so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure. So thank you again.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on next week's episode.